I was going to do a video on dogs, specifically goats and dogs, because it continues to be an issue. So I'm going to talk about it a little bit, and it's because it's an issue with neighbors, it's an issue with friends and family. It's been an issue with people we've sold goats to before. Let's see if J-Dan will let me sit here. Let me catch my breath there. Okay, so when we first started goats, we had two dogs. We had they were Collie Catahoula mix, total mutts. Really worthless except for just being companion dogs. At that time when we got those dogs, we weren't into working animals. So when we started goats, that's the two dogs we had. The lady who sold us our first goats, Frances Lower from Donwin Dairy Goats, a wonderful person. She actually also took a lot of time, and she could see that we were, probably going to be people who stuck to goats, and she put a lot of time in teaching us a lot of stuff. Well, her input on dogs were, they're okay, and you can have them around, but you have to train your dog that the goat is the boss. So, I mean, the goat has to think that it is dominant in its environment. I mean that's how they're happy. These animals have learned to scale sheer cliffs to get away from predators and stuff. And when we domesticate them, we put them in an unnatural environment. And to allow your dog to come in and kind of bully the goats around, snarl and snap when the goat gets too close, because the goat's instinct is to headbutt the dog. I'll tell you that right now. Even our LGDs and stuff, our goats do not like them too close. It's just, and the LGDs have had that chase instinct, that prey drive. That's the word, the term, prey drive. They've had that bred out of them, and the LGD will naturally give way to the animal, to the goat. Now other dogs have a problem with that because they have strong prey drives, like say German Shepherd, even a Labrador Retriever, any kind of bird dog. Those are all hunting dogs bred to chase, and so they have a strong prey drive. So when a goat headbutts them, they have a tendency to snap, and if they may not do it, they may not snap 10 times, but that 11th time is all it takes, and boom, you got an ear ripped off. It's happened. We've told people dogs and goats don't mix, and they don't listen. They just don't listen. It happened to my mother-in-law. She came here to this property, and it's relatives. They bring the dogs around, and the dogs aren't trained, and they insist that you let their dogs around your goats, and that's where you have to stand strong. You have to say, no, I'm sorry. You can't bring your dog around my goats. This is the goats' sanctuary, right? Now, a lot of people have goats and dogs together, and they're not LGDs. They're not livestock guardian dogs. For instance, we sold some goats to some people about a year ago, and they also have like 6 German Shepherds. As soon as we heard that, my first instinct was just be sorry, we're not selling you any goats. But we happen to know these people. They spent a little time talking to us and stuff, and they're very capable people. And they make it work, but when we visit, we can tell those goats are wary. They're not used to being surrounded by animals with high prey drive. Okay, a goat just is not ever going to be comfortable in that situation. And inevitably, I believe that inevitably a goat will get hurt. So it's kind of a situation that's up to you, but the general golden rule of thumb is goats and dogs don't mix. Now, it's important, and how do you deal with that when, for instance, we have neighbors that when a dog approaches the fence by itself, normally we just yell, "Go home," and the dog listens, right? But you kind of have to educate your neighbors and stuff, because it's fine if their dog wanders up and is on your fence line. I mean, that's not a big deal. I mean, unless of course they're obviously aggressive or something, but just a dog tooling around hitting the fence line, you can just go on, get out of here, and the dog goes. 9 times out of 10, the dog, runs off and goes home. But then you get the person, the owner, who will come up to the fence and bring the dog with them. And that's where you have to educate the dog owner, because what they're doing is they're telling their dog and our guardian dogs that dog is okay, that dog is supposed to be here. And then later on, when nobody's around and that dog comes around, and you're actually training your LGDs to allow that dog at the fence, and also training the other dog owner is training their dog to, that it's okay to come up to the fence and sniff the other dogs, and sniff at the goats, and pee on the fence and all that stuff. And that's really where you have to educate them and be like, no, that's not okay. Could you please just ask your dog to get back? I mean, even just telling them to get back 15 feet communicates that fence line is not someplace that they can hang out. It's really hard to get people to listen to that. We happen to live in a community here where everybody thinks that they moved to the countryside so they could let their dogs run. I'm not kidding you. There were 12 dogs when we first moved here. Dog pack that would run around here, and it was everybody. Our one neighbor in particular is really bad. He has a puppy mill, and I lost count at 12 dogs, and he has new puppies over there. So you'll encounter, I call them dog worshippers. I probably shouldn't, but it's almost offensive to a person who struggles to feed animals at low cost, that work and give back, and to see somebody who can barely feed themselves have 12 dogs that produce turds and problems for the owner. So I call them dog worshippers. So everybody seems to want to have as many dogs as they can. I don't know what it is, but it's one thing that my FPV hobby and my goat lifestyle have in common is we don't like dog walkers or dog owners very much, because they know a little bit about their dog, and after that they're experts on animals. They think that they should socialize their dog to every animal that everybody has, and everything's fine, and they picture this really Disney idea that all the animals should co-mingle, and it's not the case. It took us it's taken us 6 years to be able to even overlap our cat coverage with our LGD coverage, because our LGDs wouldn't let our kitties in. And it was a problem because the LGDs had access around our feed storage, and they wouldn't let the cat out to work, the cat to go freely. But no, it's a balance on a farm, and you can't just expect to. And if you're a dog owner, don't just show up at somebody's farm with your dogs. I mean, not unless it's okay. I mean, definitely if somebody asks you to not, definitely don't show up with your dogs, and just give a little bit of respect to animal husbandry. And dog owners, you got to realize that somebody that has 40 animals doesn't have much sympathy for your booby. I mean, we don't care if you think your dog's a sweetheart. Leave him at home. At least leave him in your car. And don't be rude when people ask you to not bring your dog around their goats and their livestock. Please respect that. They're not asking you just to be jerks. So I hope you take a little bit of time before you mix your dogs and goats. They should at least be separated by a fence, and if they're not, then the dog has to know that the goat rules the area. If the goat says go away, the dog has to go away. Okay, so respect your goats. They feed you. You know, they're wonderful creatures, and you know, we take them off of their mountain and domesticate them. You want them to be happy. They got to feel safe. Okay, thank you. Like, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. I think I'm supposed to do that. Anyway, see ya.